What if light isn't just something we see, but something we are? What if the sun is not merely a star, but a messenger, transmitting codes of consciousness across space and time? Right now, solar flares are activating dormant potentials within our DNA, inviting us to remember who we truly are. This moment, this breath, is a portal. Welcome to Radiant Intelligence, Solar Harmonies, and the Human Field.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.
In Lakesh, and greetings. Greetings to one and all out there tuning in this now moment. Welcome to the Galactic Spin Podcast. My name is Mikuak Rai, Kin 126, joined by my brother Rubén Llinás, Kin 113. In Lakesh, dear brother Rubén.
In Lakesh, brother, can you hear me? Because we have a new microphone.
Sounds excellent.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Yes, it was about time. So we took this episode number 33. We are so honored and happy to be at this golden intersection, the second half of it, and celebrating today the 53 galactic spins from the Harmonic Convergence. So an auspicious day to have like a better microphone so that the message can go through.
Wow. Loud and clear. You sound great. You sound wonderful. And thank you to you and Alejandra for all that you are anchoring there in the territory, in the land over there on the in the Yucatan Peninsula,
Mm.
in that sacred area of the earth. We give great thanks for that.
Yeah, we give also great thanks to be able to be here and receive from the land a lot of the instructions and communications. No, is the prophecy and the codes are alive here more than anywhere else.
Mm.
So we feel it in our bodies, in our day-to-day life, and we are so grateful for that.
Whew. Well, we appreciate you anchoring it there. We certainly feel the transference of that awareness around the world, as what we're really experiencing together is of noospheric proportion, I would say, in light of what is coming online, what is awakening in people, almost as a rolling wave of consciousness. And it seems like this happens in cycles and waves as well. So obviously, with tracking time as we do and comparing different counts, it's really powerful to witness the harmonization, the synchronization of these various counts in
Yes.
such an elegant, eloquent way as they're doing right now. So I want to send a special shout out to Ishel for that incredible
Amazing.
opening video. I shared with her earlier when she shared the edit with me. I was blown away. So I encourage people to go ahead and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And one of the playlists there is a playlist with the opening transmissions. All these amazing videos that Ishel has crafted throughout this entire series. So I invite people to check that out. But certainly, if you missed the opening this evening, certainly check for it in the playlist there, episode 33. Amazing,
Yes.
amazing stuff.
And to remind everyone that this is a good moment to like, share, subscribe, join the chat, make some comments so that the algorithm can come to life and help us put this message out. And this is a labor of love. And as such, we want to encourage everyone to give their love and appreciation and by their participation. That's kind of what we are hoping to we're trusting to achieve with this transmission.
That's right. And shout out to Delia Sky also. Big love to her. We've been so blessed to be integrating the Arctara tones in the opening transmission videos. Also, check out her website. You can connect to that inside the show notes on YouTube to follow her work as well. So great contributions to the frequency, to shifting the energy and awakening harmonic resonance with our community. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Earth's Pulse. I think it's a great time to do that. And there is so much in the field to dive into for this special 33rd episode. So grateful that you're here tuning in with us. We give great thanks. And as we begin, lots of interesting things occurring out here in the 3D.
Yes.
And particularly, let's just focus in the theme tonight, really radiant intelligence. And by this, we want to distinguish, the various types of intelligences that are being popularized now in the world, your various expressions of artificial intelligence, natural intelligence, organic intelligence, and in this case, radiant intelligence. We want to really emphasize that this evening, really from the perspective that our star, our sun, is indeed intelligent.
Yeah.
And so, please, without further ado.
Yeah, and because the sun has been associated with gold by many ancient cultures, they would use gold to receive that vibration of the sun and get that energy. It is very interesting that we missed this the last episode because the news really came, as we can see here, on May 13 on this article from space.com that on May 7th, Kin 44, that day was the day of the conclave that we already covered, and that was the last day of the sacred count for the indigenous peoples of Guatemala and Yucatan. So that day was 13 Ahau, and we know that the Ahau has the gold at the end, the AU, the chemical symbol of gold. And that day, the scientists discovered gold were able to create a very small amount of, or very small quantity and temporal quantity of gold. But it's a big news because we are speaking here about the golden intersection of timelines. So the golden section is today of this entire 52 episode journey. So we thought that because of the narratives that are running simultaneously, being CERN kind of the symbol of the 1260, the symbol of the largest machine on Earth, coordinated by mechanical time. They have even a device called the synchrotron, and they synchronize these particle beams to collide at certain speeds. So it was really interesting to see that even though there wasn't a lot of gold, and it didn't last it long, the results were impressive. And this was a paper that was originally published on that day, on May 7th. And even though that the article appeared on May 13, almost a week later, that's why we didn't catch it on our last episode.
Yeah.
But it's something to keep an eye on because, of course, the synchronization of these events, the conclave and the election of a new pope and the 13 Ahau, the timing is very interesting to observe because as time unfolds, we can connect the dots and see what is the hidden narrative behind all these events.
Yeah, it's interesting too, as you talk about this, I'm getting a sense that what CERN has attempted to demonstrate is organically what we are actually designed to do. And so their effort, and all of science efforts in some way or another, is to replicate a process to prove it, right? So they're trying to replicate or identify or recreate the God particle or whatever other various things CERN has been endeavoring to do. So the creation or alchemical process of turning lead to gold, which is what this is meant to represent. I think it's an interesting thing. It's an allegory, though, for the organic intelligence that's fully operating right now. And it seems like it's almost a distraction from us as beings awakening to who and what we are, to focus our attention on what they're devising in the 3D as like the pinnacle. And the irony should not be lost on us that it happens simultaneous to the conclave. Irony should not be lost on us there.
And I want to also make a note that when Pope Francis was elected on March 13, 2013, the next day, which is Pi Day, 3.14, that day, CERN announced the discovery of the God particle. So there is a similar story happening here behind this new announcement. And
Pi Day, God particle, phi ratio, fingerprint of God. It's interesting, again, how all of these sort of mathematical, numerical expressions, right, of an effort to make sense of the phenomena of time and space, as it were, I don't know, these are very interesting things that they're so prevalent right now. As again, we're approaching this golden intersection, so much conversation from different angles about gold. So
Yeah.
really, really something.
Yeah. And in parallel to that story is this activation of the sun. We receive right after our last podcast the largest and most powerful coronal mass ejection from the sun. Like it was an X 2.7, and it caused the solar flares caused radio communication blackouts around the planet. And it was interesting to see that mainstream media starting to put more attention on this. This screenshot is from, the article is from the Smithsonian magazine, which is a scientific magazine, and the screenshot is from an NBC News broadcast. That they were actually touching on the impact that solar activity has on Earth. And let's remember that we are electromagnetic creatures, and that our brains and our hearts operate within this electromagnetic spectrum. So every time that the Earth gets hit by these radiations and these energies, well, we get also that hit. So this is also a time to drink lots of water, get plenty of rest at night, be very attentive to our dreams, what is coming in the dream world, because there is a communication happening. As you mentioned, the sun is alive, and these plasmas that are being ejected, they are also charged with information for our DNA.
Yes.
So we are receiving information at very different levels from our star, and let's remember that this, as we can see on the next slide, this solar flare really took place at the end of the wave spell of the sun. This was on day 13 of this spectral moon, Kin 51, galactic activation portal day. And the day before, we receive an X 1.2, and the next day on May 14, we received the X 2.7, which is the largest flare of this 2025.
Yeah, if you remember the week before, though, we were saying, we were remarking on how there was a seeming reduction in activity along the black void that we saw across the surface of the sun. Remember, because we had a great viral post from you that went viral with that imagery, and I remember it being commented on, even, almost suggesting, the solar maximum is over, it's on the decline, but then boom, here we go, the biggest eruptions recorded, and however long, I don't know, when was this X2 what, 2.7?
Yeah, X 2.7, as we can see, there are several spikes. We see several M flares, but the one that stands out is the X 2.7.
Yeah.
I don't remember when was exactly the last one, but I remember that for sure that a year ago, in May, we have the largest explosion. We'll have to check how big was that one. But it sparked these amazing auroras all around.
Right, exactly.
And this year we are receiving kind of a little a second episode of that. We see here some pictures taken from Norway, from Creston, Colorado, and this the one on the top left made a lot of news on the web, because you can see this stream that it happened to be like a rocket that they were testing, but of course it looks epic because of the contrast of nature and technology, and the one on the right, taken in Norway, it was the person, the photographer mentioned that they usually don't get these kind of auroras at that latitude. So these pictures were taken between May 16 and 17, so a couple of days ago. So and they synchronize, as we can see, with the start of this wave spell of the Skywalker. So it's a beautiful synchronicity, because we can see that the Skywalker glyph has these two pillars, and the auroras kind of create those pillars of light, of plasma light, that connect heaven and earth. So there is a beautiful narrative happening for those with eyes to see, and for those following the codes of time, of the new time, so that we can really appreciate what is happening. And the other thing that is that we wanted to cover on this pulse is what is called the Pleiadian alignment, which is a 6-day window when the Pleiades and the Sun align at the zenith point directly overhead, where no shadows are cast at the latitude of major archaeological temples, like the Pyramid of Teotihuacan and the Pyramid of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. And this Sun-Pleiades zenith convergence is therefore a pivotal time marker for the ancient timekeepers of Mesoamerica. And these are kind of the windows. There are several takes on this, but according to John Major Jenkins, May 20th is actually the day that the bull's eye of this alignment. We can see on the next slide how this is an article from John Major Jenkins, like an excerpt that was published by Kayalin Castello, who we consult her material really often about Venus and about these events, astronomical alignments, and what if you want to read what he says about this in one of his books.
Sure. Give me 1 second. I was just going to pull it up so I can see it a little bit better. But yeah, let me read it. Give me 1 quick second to identify the. I should have had it prepared here. My apologies.
Oh no, I can read it.
Yeah, maybe go ahead, just because I'm looking for the file here on my end. I don't want to stumble around.
What he says is, at Chichen Itza, the zenith passage begins on May 20th. There is a 6-day range, resulting in a Sun-Pleiades zenith convergence to begin on the 21st century. Incredibly, this brought the two precessional tracking methods into agreement, for the solstice galaxy alignment also occurs in the 21st century. Remember the galactic alignment of 2012, which is one of the bases and the fundamental pillars of the golden intersection, the extension of that galactic alignment. It is important to note that frequently the Pleiades pass through the zenith. However, it is only 1 day each year when they pass through the zenith at high noon, or the opposite point at midnight. The midnight zenith passage of the Pleiades defines the day exactly 6 months later, when the Sun and the Pleiades are together. These are the dates on certain latitudes when the Sun and Pleiades are not only together, but they are on the zenith, meaning the Sun casts no shadows when it is crossing the zenith. So on the next slide, we can see a little bit what that looks like. And this is important because it's going to connect with the art of time. Really, this is what is called the first zenithal passage, and there is a second zenithal passage.
Yeah.
So what we see here are pictures taking the lower left picture is at Xochicalco, which is the alignment takes place on May 17, and the other one it's at Teotihuacan. It was taken on July 25th by the people of Teotihuacan tours, and what we can see is how the actual light of the sun enters through the caves and creates this amazing effect that it looks like science fiction. Like scene from Star Trek. And what this means is that they use these portals as initiation moments when the initiates will receive that pillar of light. And I remember us being there on July 24th, 2023, I guess it was.
Yes.
And we were able to enjoy that view and the experience, also the energy of what that means, that sacred moment of alignment.
Yeah, it's truly, you feel a transference. It's you can tap into the feeling of that radiant intelligence being transferred to you, and by particularly having that direct light, as they say, where no shadows cast, it's like a direct transmission without deviation or interference. And to be concentrated is the way it is, for example, in that cave in Teotihuacan, where it comes in through that tiny hole, streaming in, focusing in. It's just so powerful. And Sirius was in the womb when we experienced that, so we know he was infused in that moment in the womb with that frequency, with that transmission.
Yeah, and let's remember that this alignment is happening with the sun and the Pleiades align in one line. Let's remember that the Pleiades are the 7 stars next to the constellation of the Bull, and this is the time of the year that the sun is transiting Taurus, the Bull. So the energy of or the frequency of the Pleiades, which is 7, is that resonant channel, and it was elders like Humbatzman wrote about these Pleiadian cycles that are also connected to the 52-year cycle.
Yeah.
In the same way that the next zenithal passage that will take place in Teotihuacan around July 25 or day out of time, and the Galactic New Year, July 26, those days, that window is when we can experience these phenomena. And in the next slide, we can actually see some diagrams of what is happening. As we can see here, this is a map presented, I think it was presented by Carlos Carrillo, which is a researcher here in Mexico. As we can see, there is that's the landmass of Mexico, where most of the temples are built in between these latitudes, that they go from 14.8 latitude north to 23.5 latitude north. 23.5 is the Tropic of Capricorn. So that's where let's say, as we can see, there are the alignments. If we see on the lower right corner of the graphic, there are several places like Copan and Izapa that received that first passage on May 2nd, and then the sun starts to go up to the solstice point, which is when it hits that 23.5 latitude north, and that passage takes 52.5 days. And then when it hits the solstice, it takes another 52.5 days to come back, and ends around August 13. So we can see there on the graphics how July 26 is connected to Teotihuacan, that's that zenithal passage, and to Etzna, which is on that same meridian, or 19.5 degrees north. Today, May 19th, is 19.5, and that's the sacred geometrical latitude where these alignments of energy takes place. There is a Merkaba inscribed within the sphere of the Earth, and let's remember that these geometries at in the higher dimensions, they create these morphogenetic fields, these areas where the energy swirls in a different and more powerful way. And then we see here that during these 105 days, as we approach the solstice point, the sun moves from south to north and the amount of light increases. The central passage of the sun over multiple ancient temples across the Mesoamerican landscape represents an activation of these structures and the morphogenetic memory fields that they hold in place. 105 days is the interval between the galactic count of 260 days and the solar lunar count of 365 days. So that makes a perfect match to really weave both cycles through astronomical observation. And let's keep in mind that it's not only going to be tomorrow, but this window extends over these next few days. So if anyone here watching is around these places, just the invitation is open to go and receive this energy. And or if you are not, still, let's connect telepathically.
Tap into it. That's exactly right. From wherever you are.
Yes,
and I want
especially because of these solar flares are like the amount of light and the quality of that light that is infusing and activating these structures and our bodies, which are our temples. It's way more powerful because the energy is arriving perpendicular to the earth.
Exactly. It's the angle.
It's
perfect. And, this is the window to do it. I mean, this is really, it seems, this next 6 days is a great window in which to connect with this energy wherever you are in the world. If you are obviously nearer those markers, then certainly be there in that sentinel passage as much as you can. It's also practice in a sense, or a similar invitation to the golden intersection of timelines. We want people to begin to think about that as an opportunity to get out into nature, get out into sacred spaces, get off the devices for that window to really interface with the natural technology of the environment, of the ecosystem. That's really the call of nature to us at this time. A lot of this that we're preparing for is to really move beyond technology, sort of like the title of Jose's book, The Mayan Factor, in the 1980s, The Mayan Factor, The Path Beyond Technology. So part of the call that's going out now in preparation for the Get is to really orient ourselves to what it means to return to nature. Now, we want to use these tools and technologies and methods of communication to reach greater critical mass of awareness. And then we also want to take sacred space from these devices to really connect in our hearts with the heart of the earth and with the heart of our human relations. Like that's the moment. And so this sentinel passage that we're now moving through these next 4 or 5 days, 6 days, is a great segue, it feels, in preparation for qualitatively what's coming up with this golden intersection moment. And now, mind you, the sentinel passage happens frequently.
Yeah.
Yet every year, yet this Get is infrequent. So it's one to certainly not miss and to really approach with really clear intention. It's a very, very powerful moment of transformation, similar to what CERN is realizing in the relationship of, generating gold for a flash. Whereas we are this advanced technology ourselves, whereas we're interfacing now with the creation technology itself. We're talking about gold instantly as well. It's a frequency, it's a field.
Yeah, the alchemy we are the alchemical containers, and the alchemy is happening in our DNA.
100%. Thank you again to everybody tuning in. So happy all of you are here. We definitely encourage you, again, if you haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay informed of upcoming episodes. And we also want to encourage people to visit theharmonicfactor.com, where you can find a lot more information about the golden intersection of timelines. As you hear us mentioning that here and there, we will encourage you to visit the website to learn more. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and sink in and tune up. I feel that's where we're going. Indeed, Rubén, if you want to take it away.
Yes, again, we start from the start of the year. This is the new serial cycle 1.37. Today we are on the 11th moon, on the third week, the fourth day of the fourth day of the third week of this 11th moon. And as we can see here, this is the structure of the 13th moon year as a wayspill. A wayspill is a structure to measure any cycle of time based on the number 13. So we can measure 13 days, 13 weeks, which is one season, or 13 moons, which is 1 year, or 13 years, which is 1 quarter of a 52-year cycle of Sirius. So this 11th moon of the year has a fractal expression within the 260-day cycle. As we can see on the next slide, we can measure in the same way that we measure 13 days, 13 weeks, 13 moons. We can also apply that scale to measure 260, a cycle of 260 days, a cycle of 260 weeks, a cycle of 260 moons. We make emphasis on this because this is a new information that we are putting out to really be able to allow people to perceive these fractal qualities of time. And within that fractal structure of 260 moons, these 13 moons corresponds to the 13 ways, the 13 moon cycle of the human, in which each kin corresponds to 1 moon. Let's remember, since each year has 13 moons, it takes 20 years to complete a cycle of 260 moons. And we are right now in that moons 92 to 104. So the first moon of this entire 13 moon year was coded by kin 92, the yellow magnetic human, and that energy is commanding the energy for the entire year. And we are at the 11th stage of this 13 moon wayspill, which is coded by the white spectral wind, kin 102. And this cycle is the last cycle of 4 cycles of 13 moons that would be coded, as we can see on the lower part of the screen, the White Castle. So from 2021 to 2022, we have 13 moons that corresponded to the wayspill of the Skywalker, which is actually the wayspill that we are transiting right now in days. And then from 2022 to 2023 was the Wall Bridger wayspill of 13 moons. And then 2023 to 2024, that was the the Storm wayspill. And now we are in the Human wayspill. And that means that when we close this year, we will enter a new castle of 4 years, 13 moons each of these years, they correspond to one wave spell, and that would be the wave spell of the serpent. So this is a special juncture because the 13th moon is called by King 104, and we are approaching that frequency. That's the frequency of the golden intersection of timelines, the unified time frequency between the long count and the galactic Maya count by adding the two signatures. So this 13th moon, because it's the last moon of the year and we are already on the spectral, we only have 2 moons to go, and this is a really good moment to start planning for day out of time, for that moment when the sun is aligning with Sirius, and we have the heliacal rising of Sirius combined with the zenithal passage of the sun, as we saw, the second zenithal passage. So this is a good moment to because this moon is the wind is the archetype of communication. This is the moment or a window of 28 days to really release that communication. That we can see on the next slide that the keywords for this entire moon is to dissolve and release. This is the moon of liberation, the 11th moon of the year. And the question that we have been asking ourselves is, how can we release and let go? Especially because the theme of this entire year is the human. There's a lot of things that we as the human family, we need to release and let go, including the Gregorian calendar, including outdated ways of acting and living, and so it's a contemplation for this entire month, what we really need to let go to keep evolving as humans. And on the next slide, if you can pass it through, we are on the 18th day. This is Kin 56. May 19th on the Gregorian calendar, and this wave spell is going to end on the 27th day of this moon. It's going to be the red cosmic serpent Kin 65, and we end the moon with the first day of the coming wave spell, and that's how the cycles of 13 and 28 kind of come together in such an elegant way. And I don't know if you want to add anything or just.
Well, I mean, I think you summed it up beautifully. I mean, the elegance of this spectral moon is perfect, because as people could see on that last slide, the way it's just nested in the center between two wave spells, completing one, beginning another at the bookends of the moon is just perfect. And it's beautiful. I love the illustration of it. I mean, and we're following the frequency of every Kali day throughout this sequence of the episodes. So it's just beautiful to see the fact that we posit right in the center of every heptad with this broadcast over the course of these 52 episodes is just powerful. Just to see the way it lays out beautifully. I mean, this, among other synchronicities, are just, as we've been talked about offline, are just emerging with almost rapid speed, or just maybe we're becoming more attuned to them. That it's always there, and we're just like tuning into the fact that it's there. But certainly something is happening, and it's a part of this energy that I feel is pulling us into the core, or into our center, our heart center. And it's a part of that process. So we're seeing the way it behaves across these timelines and these timekeeping systems as well, that everything is convergent.
Yes.
And so it's just exquisite, really.
Yes, and there are still some people that get confused with the Tzolk'in at 260 days. They believe that every year the same date is going to be the same kin, but it's really how the cycles of 260 days and 364 plus 1 days come together. And let's remember that one cycle, the 13 moon cycle, is the cycle of human fertility and the 260-day cycle is the cycle of human gestation. It's the time it takes the baby to come to life and come be born into this world. And the cycle of 30 months is really each moon of 28 days, there is a new egg coming in for women, and it's an opportunity to get fertilized and continue the cycle. But since this is the cycle of 260 days, it governs our DNA. It's a cycle that we should keep special attention. That's why this entire broadcast is called the Galactic Spin, because the two are very important.
And for people's awareness, that's obviously what we're looking at even on the screen right now. These are two instances of the galactic spin itself, literally. And also one thing that we've been wanting for people to really appreciate is that this work that we're endeavoring to is a unifying of the counts. In other words, as you can see with the golden intersection of timelines, it's emerged to us. It's saying, hey, this is synchronizing with that. What does that actually imply? What does that mean? And the Galactic Tzolk'in, along with the traditional Tzolk'in, which people will read about in our writing or see when we talk about it in this case, this is a process that's underway. We're beginning to make it conscious now. And just to know that what we're doing now is creating a way forward for future generations to be in greater unity and synchrony and higher harmony with each other. Because this is a long, long process of, in a sense, reuniting what was dispersed or what was broken apart. And that's kind of the essence of what I really feel is happening in this process of making conscious. And we can see that when we think about now the counts of what the traditional Tzolk'in might be holding on any given day. Like today is equivalent to Kin 12, the crystal human, or 12 Ebb in the traditional Daykeeper Tzolk'in, right? So just to bring context, that then we find it in the Galactic Tzolk'in today is Kin 56. It's an echo of the Harmonic Convergence 53 Tzolk'ins later. Okay. Yes. Now, when we think about the Galactic Tzolk'in, one way that I like to think of it is as if it's the future application of a Tzolk'in being a literal universal harmonic application to put into play at a time like this, when our species has spun completely out of sync with nature. So in an effort to correct this erroneous error in time, the galactic spin, if you will, is placed on that situation to bring it into synchrony with universal law, universal reality.
Yes.
Which, to a degree, the traditional timekeeping approach has been keeping, though it's keeping it from a different orientation. It's not a future point. It's a former point. It's a linear timekeeping consistency that is anchored, and is tried and true. So it's interesting how, as we observe what's underway in this harmonization, this synchronization, that's also being attended by the sun, right? And shows up as glyphs of the sun in both systems. The synchronization is profound.
Yeah.
And it's something we're actually making conscious together, because a lot of these factors are being revealed like in real time between each episode throughout this process since the past couple of moons, with the whole shift in Rome. All of that is factoring into this. All of that is being, in a way, prepared to move through this threshold moment called the golden intersection of timelines. So there's a reason why this is coming online for all of us at the same time. And I'll say this in closing: the point to achieve is unity, unification of the counts. It's no longer this count is right, that count is wrong, and all that business. That's the game of Babylon, to divide the tongues, divide the counts, get everybody confused. So, I mean, allegorically speaking, that's the allegory of Babylon, right? The confusion of the tongues or the peoples.
Yeah.
So here we are though, and there's a unification happening, and it seems it's through the remembering, the recognition of these future and ancient
Mm-hmm.
interfaces that are
Mm-hmm.
meeting right now. We had a chance to cover that in great depth with Tata Jose over the
Mm-hmm.
past couple of episodes and really see what's emerging. He
Mm-hmm.
being a carrier of the sixth sun himself,
Mm-hmm.
like even coded as Ajpu, for Ajpu. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get more specific than that, honestly. Knowing that
Mm-hmm.
that's the daykeeper when we arrived to October 14th, 2025.
Yes.
Phenomenal. So I just wanted to emphasize what we're doing here is the unification of the counts. That's why we're very deliberate about making both counts conscious, knowing that at some future point in 183 years or so, they're going to actually synchronize
Yeah.
on a day like March 1st in the year 2208, when both
Mm-hmm.
counts arrive to kin 212 or a 4 ebb.
Yes.
So that's just to know that is a blessing, because that's something we can give our children, is the awareness of that, you see,
Mm-hmm.
away from all this divisiveness,
Yes.
everything
And
bending towards unity.
Jose always mentioned that the two counts constitute a prophetic alliance, and we are here in the waveshell of prophecy, and we are going to speak why they constitute a prophetic alliance and why they are working together in tandem. As you mentioned, we are weaving the ancient past with the ancient future, and in the present moment, and this cycle of the Skywalker, which is the archetype of the prophet, it's helping us connect the stories, because this all has been prophesized, and we're going to dive into the next section into the two main prophecies that are embedded into this cycle and into the entire Mayan stream of prophecies, because there are prophecies all around the world, but these are Mayan prophecies. And let's remember that this entire Westpel is coded by the red magnetic Skywalker, which is the equivalent in the ancient count to one Ben, which is the signature or the birth sign of the prophet Seacatl Topilzin Quetzalcoatl. So that's why this Wayspell is the main theme is the prophecy. We wanted to honor that during this episode, being today Harmonic Convergence, and being Harmonic Convergence part of that prophetic narrative and that prophetic alliance with the ancient count, and the fact that we are celebrating 53, the same frequency of the start of this wave, but 53 cycles of 260 days from that moment of unification and,
Wow.
and harmonic alignment. And that the fact that one of the creators of the harmonic convergence was Pleiadian, who passed on last Kin 53. We completed 11 years from her passing, and yesterday was the equivalent of one to wen on the yesterday was the let's remember Kin 55 and 56, as we can see here in the graph, are highlighted in green because they are the 2 days of the harmonic convergence, August 16, 17, 1987. Originally, we are completing 53 galactic spins of 260 days from that day, and those are the two anchors of this entire new time that we are living, and the fact that this is followed tomorrow, but this alignment of the sun with the earth, with the Pleiades, which also is governed by the 52-year cycle, it's very auspicious, and we can see here also on the graphic that we have some green stars, and those are called clear signs of prophecy. And these are 3 clear signs that we have on this sign. These are signs or glyphs that appear on the sarcophagus lid of one of the main prophets within the Mayan stream, called Pakal Votan. We have been speaking about him all this time, and we are going to dive deep today into that prophecy because there are many alignments in taking place. We covered some of those on our last episodes, especially that alignment that is happening next March 23rd, the day of his birth, that it will be King 104, and that he will complete 1,999 days of arriving to the planet, and the Pope will complete 99 Tzolk'ins from arriving to the planet. But today we're going to go deep into more of those layers, and this cycle will end on May 28th, which would be King 65, the red cosmic serpent. Let's remember that the serpent is associated with Quetzalcoatl, also Kukulkan, and that the transcendence of the prophet is the magic flight. The 13th day is always the magic flight. Is the 13th is the magic flight of the serpent. So there is a beautiful narrative happening. Each wave spell is like a story of an ancient book that opens up for us to step in and live the archetypal energy that is governing the cycle.
I'd like to mention something there if I can, just relative to the fact that also, I don't know, maybe you were going to mention this, but Ishel, our colleague of the 260 pod, actually will be among our team the first to consciously experience what is called the Get Phi day of her own life, meaning the day when she turns a sum of 16,180 days on Earth. And that occurs on Kin 65 of this wave spell. She's literally the fulfillment of this prophetic 13-day cycle, coded by Quetzalcoatl, as you mentioned, one Ben, just in the sequence of events. So very auspicious. I wanted to make that conscious because she, again, among the team, she's the first one to actually experience it in real time. And we encourage people out there listening, if you'd like to actually determine when your Get Phi day either was or will be, then what you need to do is go from your date of birth and basically do the mathematical summary of 16,180 days from your day of birth. And that date will give you your specific, what we call the Get Phi day. And also to make more conscious, we're calling it Phi day because in the golden intersection of timelines observance or calculation, October 15th, 2025 is also regarded by us as literal Phi day. This is the day when the Gregorian calendar itself reaches 161,803 days exactly. Okay, so when we talk about the Get Phi day, you have a personal Get Phi. If you look at the fraction of that being 16,180 days. But then when you look at the full scope of the Gregorian calendar, its Phi day is 161,803 days.
Yes.
So,
and the beauty of it is that at that large scale is 443 years, and at the human scale is 44 years and 3 months, or 44.3 years.
Exactly.
So
it's mind-blowing, actually.
It's really beautiful. And really this was a recent discovery, and that's why Giselle would be the first one to really go through that portal consciously.
And there's a lot of synchronicities as we've been weaving the traditional Tzolk'in with the galactic Tzolk'in and observing the weaving of these ancient and future counts. How they're truly harmonizing is also mind-blowing. There are other factors people can perform around their galactic signature, or also how that correlates with their traditional daykeeper, for example. but what reveals is really, really stunning, actually. And then when you look at it also in the constellation of a family, for example, you begin to discover the mother and the father and the children and the sort of arrangements that start to emerge. It's really remarkable. I won't
Yes.
get into all those details because it would take us a while to unpack that. But just rest assured that the codes are communicating, just like the sun, something entirely coherent and
Yes.
coordinated. It's beautiful.
Yes. And to kind of to before we dive into the time is our section, I want to highlight here the fact that these two clear signs of prophecy, which appear as Kin 58 and Kin 60, they correspond to the birth and death of Pakal Botan. So within this wayspell is the frequency of Quetzalcoatl as Kin 53, 1 Ben, and the harmonic convergence, Kin 55, 56. And then Kin 58 is Pakal's Botan's departure, and Kin 60 is Pakal Botan's birth sign. On the traditional count, which the equivalent of those frequencies or signatures, galactic signatures, would be his birth as 8 Ahau or 8 Ahpu, and his passing as 6 Etznap, or Tihash is the name in the Maya Quiche. So those are signaled here as the alpha and the omega of this prophetic figure. And with that said, let's jump into the story and the prophecy of the harmonic convergence, what that means, what is today such an important marker, why these 53 galactic spins that we are completing today is such a prophetic milestone before the golden intersection of timelines.
Absolutely. Let's get it. So as we've indicated, today's theme is radiant intelligence, solar harmonies, and the human field. We really want to get across a sense that what is underway is an interactive interplay with the solar array, if you will, and all of the expression. It's having a communication with us. We call it plasmas, we call them auroras, though on some level we're each getting a direct communication with intelligence itself, pure intelligence itself. And that's, part of the sense that we want to communicate at this point. And the fact that we're on episode 33 at such an auspicious moment where we're acknowledging 53 Tzolk'ins since the harmonic convergence is no small thing. So thank you all just for witnessing this with us, because for us to hold this space as well as we've been doing, it just continues to reveal more synchronicity, more beauty each step of the way. Being that we're now in the second of the golden proportions of this experience, we're in the second portion of that now. Everything is turning up. And so this is just mind-blowingly incredible to just witness and host this space that we can help make these things conscious for people who have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, the resonance to feel what is underway.
Yes, and especially because these numbers 32 and 33 being the two are part of that golden intersection, are the two markers within a 52 stage process, because let's say that the year that has 52 weeks 32 and 33, that juncture point is the golden intersection. It's the last week of the 8th moon of the year, and week 33 or hepta 33 is the first week of the solar moon, the 9th moon of the year. and the fact that this number 32 is half of our DNA, which is 64, and 33 is also connected to our biology as the 33 vertebra. So they become like a channel for the energy to really move and to move harmoniously. We are the temple of time. We have the 13 and the 20, the 13 joints and the 20 fingers and toes, and adding those two, 13 and 20 is 33. So today's episode is in that frequency. And this is an image of an event called the Harmonic Convergence for those people who probably have heard about but don't know what it was. It was the first time that human beings synchronized to receive that radiant energy from the sun at the dawn of August 16 and 17. Why 2 days? One day was for the closing of the old cycle, and one day was for the opening. So 55 was closing, 56 was opening. And that's what we are doing kind of with these portals. The day out of time is closing, Galactic New Year is opening. There's always like the ending and the beginning. They come together, the alpha and the omega. They don't never come apart. And as we can see, these are original pictures from a documentary, a mini documentary from the internet, in which we can see the celebrations of people really receiving that first light, that first radiant energy. There was a major planetary alignment on that day, that the planets were aligning across, and we really invite people to go and enjoy that radiant energy at the beginning of the day, to really connect. I was this morning really giving thanks to be able to have this episode today, because it's my mother's birthday. So I want to dedicate this broadcast to her and to everything that she has done for me. Because it is that energy that is really keeping us alive, the energy of the mother, and that drives the process of life on Earth.
And also your daykeeper is today, correct?
Yes.
Right.
On the ancient Maya long count today, I'm for Kip.
Yep.
Or the name in the Quiche, I don't remember, but I think is also Ahmad. I think it's Ahmad, the warrior. But it is the frequency, the 56th day of 260 days, and it is a beautiful opportunity for us to deliver this message, because as we can see on the next slide, these were the anchor points of the harmonic convergence around the planet. Is an old map, a photocopy of an old map. The gatherings were planned on these power spots, including Mount Shasta, Sedona, Central Park in New York City, Black Hills in South Dakota, the Haleakala volcano in Hawaii, Popocatépetl volcano in Mexico, Palenque, which is the 7th here, Machu Picchu, Stonehenge, Mount Olympus, Delphi, the Great Pyramids of Egypt, the Ganges River, and Mount Fuji. So if anyone listening to this broadcast today is at one of those places, well, you are anchoring the frequency, you are extending that pulse, because what happened during those 2 days, August 16 and 17, as we can see on the right side of the screen, is that we started to harmonize with the new energies that were arriving to Earth. 1987 was the year of the explosion of the first supernova, extragalactic supernova registered by modern science. And this energy of this supernova, this light, is shifting our DNA and is loaded with new codes of life and information that brought into our awareness these new tools and these new systems to know ourselves more, including the Human Design by Raoul Hu, and the gene keys and the galactic codes of time. These are new perceptual lenses that are opening with this energy for us to really make sense of what is happening here in the third dimension. Because as we shared on the note yesterday, the harmonic convergence marked the moment in which our perceptions of space, which is the third dimension, started to shift into the fourth dimension, which is the new perception of time, which is not really that new because it's ancient, but is from the ancient future. Is ourselves talking from the future, really. And as we can see on these screenshots from starroot.com, we recommend anyone also to go to that site if you want to know in one shot what is your galactic signature on the dream spell and what is your Nawal or your daykeeper on the ancient or traditional count. This is the place to go. In one place you have both, and as we can see, the harmonic convergence took place on one image, and one image is the equivalent of one dragon. So that is the moment when the two counts really connected, because all these intentions of all the people who gather, around 144,000, if not more, sun dancers who received this energy and who put the intention to create a better planet, to evolve in harmony with the earth, they came together on that sacred day at the starting of the 260-day sacred calendar within the traditional count. So the second day, of course, was Tu-Ik or Tu-Wind. And since every leap year, the two counts come together one kin, in 2025, as we mentioned before, the 260-day count has shifted by 10 days. That's why today is not again 2-Ik, but is 12-Ep, which is 12 human. It would be the 12th day instead of the second day of the sacred calendar. So there are 10 leap days, and that was a beautiful synchronization, because yesterday, the first day of the harmonic convergence, as we noted yesterday on the notes that we published on social media, it was 11 Chuwen, which is the equivalent of the blue spectral monkey, the signature of Jose Arguelles. So that's how this comes together, and the two counts starts to weave, and they become this prophetic alliance that Jose Arguelles mentioned. And this is actually a picture from a newspaper in California covering the harmonic convergence. That we wanted to honor today. The creators of the harmonic convergence at the time happened to add to 33.
Episode 33.
Yeah. So they were their young selves. They are on the other side, probably guiding this entire process. And we really want to honor those human beings who really put a lot of work and a lot of who did the heavy work, really, to bring this new consciousness. Because it's today we have all the technology and all the connectivity to make the message and to spread the word. But at the time in 1987, there were only fax machines, and only a few of them, and the post office and the phone. So it was all word of mouth. And that's the beauty of it, because it was completely analog, completely organic, and even without that ability to connect so easily, people heard the call and they arrived to these places. And so we want to honor them, and we want to honor also the memory of Tony Shearer, which is in the next slide, who is the Native American poet that gave to Jose around the year 1971, 1972, which is actually the year that his book, Lord of the Dawn, that narrates the life of the prophet Seacatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl, is a beautiful book written in poetry and with his own illustrations. Recommend anyone to go and look for it, even if it's a second-hand edition. It's a beautiful story, and it is the compilation of this prophecy of the 13 heavens and 9 hells, which are 13 cycles of 52 years of flowering of the wisdom and the knowledge of the Mayan culture and all the cultures of Mesoamerica. It was not only the Maya who suffered the consequences of colonization, and that is precisely the end of the 13 heavens and the start of the 9 cycles of 52 years called hells, started with the arrival of Hernan Cortés on Good Friday, 1521. It seems like it was also the day of the prophet Quetzalcoatl, one Acatl or one Ben. And that's why they confuse, according to the story, that this European figure, they thought that it was the return of the prophet, but it was a disguise that was really announcing the flip side of the prophecy. And those what their Harmonic Convergence did was to commemorate and honor that original transmission from Tony Shearer to Jose Arguelles, to really seal those 52 cycles and start a new transitional cycle of 26 years, 1987 to 2013, that will create a bridge to the what Tata Jose mentioned, the sixth sun of consciousness, and the renewal or the renaissance of all the sciences and all the arts that were destroyed or forgotten due to colonization. And this cycle of 22 periods of 52 years each span from the year 843 to 1987. And as we can see on the next slide, that sealed a prophecy and kind of opened up to a new chapter that is called the Tzolk'in and Prophecy of Pakal Botan. So that's why we were mentioning or highlighting at the beginning or at the end of the last section that there are two prophetic figures. One is Quetzalcoatl and one is Pakal Botan. Pakal Botan initiates. He was born in the year 603, and Quetzalcoatl arrived about 300 years later in the year 947, and he left on the year 999, 52 years after that. And the word Pakal means the solar shield. So we are speaking about this solar consciousness, and he was 8 Ahau. Ahau is the sun, and in a galactic Maya cosmology, the yellow galactic sun, which would be day 22 of this 11th moon. We have again the 33 there. Is the start of the 44th week or heptad of the year. We will be in that frequency. And we will speak a little bit more about the importance of that day at the end of this presentation. But what we see on the right side is the booklet of the Telectonon, which has the prophecy of Pakalgotan, 126 verses, narrating the dissolution of the Tower of Babel and the emergence of the cube of the law, or the elegance of the fifth dimensional reality into manifestation. That means that the original language is number. Nature speaks in number, and we got confused by words and languages, and what the Telectonon brings is that language of number back to life, and allows us to see in time how these numbers and frequencies speak in a very precise and very elegant way. And we the number 144 that we see here is the day that this prophecy was revealed, was 144 on Galactic New Year in the year 1994, which was precisely 7 years after the Harmonic Convergence. So those 7 years from 1987 it's 1993, probably 6 years. I think is July 26, 1993 is the first year of prophecy. It opened, because
for the 7 years, exactly 7 years of prophecy. I wanted to mention something here too, because in preparation for today's episode, as we always love to look at the codes and everything, something very interesting popped out to me, and I meant to mention this in the previous section because it relates. When we look at the period from basically Harmonic Convergence 38, which is this August 16th, 17th, to the Get, October 14th, 15th, what you get is, if you count the days between, so basically if you count the dates August 18th to October 13th, you get 58 days. If you count August 17th to October 14th, you get 60 days. So right there, just as in this current wave spell of prophecy, you have the frequency match of 2, the day number 2, and or rather the clear sign number 2 and number 1 indicated right there in that window of time, if you will, between the 38th anniversary of Harmonic Convergence and the Get. Now, bear in mind, if you break these things down to their frequency, 38 is 11. 443 is 11. Just saying. It's a very interesting frequency as we begin to really appreciate the essence of the Telectonon prophecy. And I'd like to speak to that point you shared with me before, a screenshot, just taking some of the aspect of that prophecy. I just want to read that, if that's okay. I think this is a great place to posit that as we explore the quality of the prophecy. So the booklet that you see on the screen is the booklet from which this prophecy was articulated, right, and presented. But I'll read from that just a few of the passages there. It absolutely relates right now. And it says, "My count of days is perfect." And this is verses 25 through 30. It says, verse 25, "Listen, my knowledge is this. My count of days is perfect. My knowledge of the cube of the law is unsurpassed. 12 is the number of the temple, but 13 is the number of God. 12 times 12, 144, is the number of the perfection of the temple as light. And 12 times 12, 144. And 12 times 144, 1728, is the number of the cube of the law, telektonon, the divine word unuttered until now. And again, bear in mind, this was first initially put forward in 1993, correct? Okay. And that's however many years ago, 22, right? Years ago. No, 32. Jeez, where is time going? Oh my goodness. Anyhow, verse 26, quote, "To him that overcometh will I give to eat of the hidden manna, and will give him a white stone, and in that stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it," end quote. This is from Revelations chapter 2, verse 17. "And that name is telektonon, and that stone is crystal, and that hidden manna is knowledge of the revelation of time." Verse 27. "The number of the elect is 144,000. This was the number set aside by God to be free of Iblis's curse. Dispersed is this number among mankind, and always was it meant to multiply both among the people of the dawn and the people of the book." Verse 28. "But since a human kin is the measure of the perfection of time, 144,000 is also the number of days within a cycle of 20 generations." 29. 12 times 20 generations is 1,728,000 days, the number of the cube of the law. But for God, one cycle more, 144,000 days more, to entice Iblis, to make his score, a total of 1,872,000 days, 13 cycles of God's elect. Verse 30, "I am Pakal Vatan, time's special witness, galactic agent of the 9 great lords of destiny, by oath pledged to the honor of Bolan Ik." I think you might be muted.
Yes, yeah, I was just because a candle was making a lot of.
Oh my!
It was feeling, so
it was responding.
It was responding, so I went to check that everything was okay.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of energy and
of course,
transmission of the telecton is very powerful. I always say that this is laser sharp. A laser sharp transmission of light, and that frequency of 144, as we will see, is connected to light. And this is basically the first pictures of the temple where the sarcophagus lid of Pakal Votan was found in the ancient city of Lakamha, known today as Palenque. And what we can see on the lower left is Alberto Ruz, the archaeologist who opened the sarcophagus lid and found the mask, the jade mask, and the rests of Pakal. And I think we covered this in another episode, that he was born on the same day that Pakal Votan was born within the galactic Maya count, which is the Kin 189 resonant moon. So it seems like Pakal himself arrived disguised in another suit, bodysuit, flesh suit.
You can't make this stuff up. I mean, that just to share with listeners, many of you are well aware, but the recovery of Pakal's tomb is probably the single most important archaeological recovery ever, on some level, like frankly, ever. It's a big one. It's a very, very big one. So the fact that, as you're saying, Alberto Ruz would bear the same daykeeper, as Pakal himself, signals that he sent himself years later to recover himself. I mean, what can you say?
Yeah, no, it's really when that verse 30 that he says, my count of days perfect is really perfect. It's like we have to acknowledge that, and we are seeing that with what is happening with this Pope and the synchronization that is happening next March 23rd, the date of his birth. And as we can see on the next slide, the importance of that discovery, of that opening, is that it took place on November 27th of 1952. The sarcophagus was found on June 15, 1952, but it was not open like that picture when he's kind of opening the sarcophagus was taken on that day, which happened to be a red rhythmic night, Kin 123. And last November 27th, we completed 72 years from that, which is half of 144. And 72 years is 1 degree on the precessional cycle of the sun. So for those who are not familiar with these cycles, there is a cycle of the precession of the equinoxes. The Earth has 4 movements. One is rotation, 1 day at night. One is translation, which is one spin around the sun, 364 days plus 1. And there is the precessional cycle, which is around 26,000 years. And if we divide that amount in degrees of a circle, that would be 72 years per degree. And we have that marker happening. So what that means is that the sun, the Earth points to a different sector of the galaxy every 72 years. Is like it shifts 1 degree. If we were pointing 72 years ago to one star, we will notice 72 years after that we have moved 1 degree. And that's why at that scale is so interesting that this completion of 72 years took place, as we can see on the right, on a blue cosmic night day, Kin 143. So that was really something, because on the next day, on February and November 28th, as we can see on the next slide, the next day we said that Quetzalcoatl was meeting Pakal Botan. Why? Because on that day, Kin 144, we completed precisely 44 Tzolk'ins, which is the equivalent of 11,444 440 days. So I'm going to read so that people don't get confused. Last November 28, 2024, Kin 144, 72 plus 72, yellow magnetic seed marked the completion of 44 Tzolk'ins of 260 days, 11,440 days, since the revelation of the Tzolk'in and prophecy of Pakal Botan to Uziar Wedges Balum Botan on July 26, 1993, and is 1.6.1.1 Kin 144 1 seed, coding the first day of the first year of the 7 years of prophecy, 1993 to 2000. This 11,440 day synchronization is a perfect fractal time container for the 1144 year cycle, 1,144 year cycle of the Quetzalcoatl prophecy of the 13 heavens and 9 hells, comprised by 22 13 plus 9 cycles of 52 years each. So why is that important? Because the next day out of time is Kin 123. Is Kin 123, and we will complete precisely As we can see on I don't know if it's in the next slide. No, probably I didn't include it. But we complete that day precisely 102 Tzolk'ins or galactic spins from the discovery. So this entire year is closing on the Art of Time, synchronizing with the opening of the sarcophagus lid. That picture of Alberto Ruz coming out of it with the same signature as we mentioned before. So that means that the next year, that starts July 26, 2025, will be preceded by that synchronization of 102 galactic spins, which is the equivalent of 26,520 days, 2652. Those are also numbers that are fractals of the same frequency, 26 being half of 52. And that means that we are aligning more and more to higher frequencies or higher harmonics. And these cycles of 144 days are part of the harmonics or the harmonic structure that is also part of the prophecy. On the next slide, we are going to really give some highlights of why the frequency of 144 is so special before we dive into these cycles, because this can facilitate a little bit more the process to people.
I just wanted to, if I could mention really quick as well, because there's a lot going on, trying to jump in there. We also did, for people who would remember, literally 4 years ago at this time, it'll be 4 years, but the initiation of observing the golden intersection of timelines began with a Medium article published November 6th. The golden intersection. I'm actually putting a link to that in the chat for folks that want to reference that, because again, my count is perfect. Like all of the numerical reflections that we've witnessed across this are consistent. And so us being guided at certain points in this process to, for example, publish this at 1440 days from the get is just another example of the fine tuning that this seems to have taken. Like, this is a process that in the process, we haven't known exactly every step of the way where these synchronicities are coming or how it's happening, but we're tuning in to the information, tuning in and paying attention. And I'll also point out for those listening who can appreciate the codes, you and I being analog partners like 113 and 126 at a range of 13 from each other, and the fact that the Tzolk'in prophecy has 126 verses. That's very interesting, I would say, as well, just in the observation. It would be worth looking at what's the 113th verse of the prophecy, also in relationship to the transmission. Something to look at. But in any case, yes, we can move on with the 144 here on the screen.
Yeah, well, what we see here on the left is really the Fibonacci spiral. We can see how we highlight the number 144 because it's the 12th step or the 12th level of the spiral. And this is the only number within the entire spiral that is a square. Is 12 by 12 is 144. And that is one of the reasons that on the verses that you recited, it mentions the frequency of 1728, because the cube of that square, 12 by 12 by 12, is 1728, which is also connected to the measurements in the New Testament, the book of Revelations of the New Jerusalem, being 12 furlongs wide, 12 furlongs long, 12 furlongs high. So that's kind of the etheric structure of what they call the New Jerusalem, which is really a geometric form. It's all written as in an allegoric language, but it's for us to catch these similarities, because the telectonon is the redemption of that end of the world narrative of the book of Revelations. Is kind of it's giving new meaning, and in which the seven seals presented by St. John are converted into the seven seals of prophecy, the seven solar plasmas, which are those energies that are governing the 7 days of the week. So this entire cosmology is connected in a very solid and elegant way, and is connected to these harmonics. So the number 144, 12 by 12, corresponds to the 12th position on the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical principle present in all nature and also embedded into the 13-unit structure of the cosmology of time. 144 is therefore the only number on the Fibonacci spiral that is a square and a circle spiral at the same time, a divine intersection of golden proportions where space, the square, and time, circle, meet. These harmonic attributes may explain why the Maya devised this number as the basis of their sacred Bactun count of 13 periods of 144,000 days each. Let's remember that each day has 24 hours, and those 24 hours in minutes is 1,440 minutes. So we are in even mechanical time, we are in that frequency every day. It's pulsing us through, even if it's through the clock, is right there. And today precisely, Jain 108, which is also one of the sources of our research and investigation, he posted about this light code 144. He says 144 has many special properties. The following is a deep dive into the mysteries of Sri 144 and how it connects to light, music, DNA, time, 108, Platonic solids, and sacred temples. So that graphic contains all of that. It was handmade by Jain. But we wanted to highlight this here because we have been speaking about the quality of the light of the sun. And what he mentioned, thanks to him, we were able to connect this part or this aspect of the beauty behind the code 144. Why is a light code, literally, is because Bruce Cathier, who gave us the keys to understanding the harmonic maths and the ley lines around the earth that reveal the accurate positioning of sacred sites or temples, teaches that the speed of light, or c, is 144,000 minutes of arc per grid second. Essentially, we are linking DNA to light via the harmonics of the circle when divided by 10. The sum of all the 10 angles of this decagon is 144 times 10, 1,440 degrees. Again, another link to 144. And on the next slide, we can see actual what he's referring to. This is something that we already explore in the venuscalendar.org website. What we can see On the left is kind of a blueprint of the DNA with the pattern that Venus and Earth create every 8 years, and those two pentagons that create like a decagon, because the shape of DNA, when we cut it, we do a transversal cut, and we see that through the electric microscope, gives us that geometry that we can see on the right, in which each of those angles of each of the pentagons is 144. That's why it makes DNA becomes a perfect conductor for light. We are literally light beings, because our entire DNA is attuned to that frequency. And this entire prophecy is attuned to that frequency. The 13 back tone count is attuned to that frequency. Each day is attuned to that frequency. And that's why we are making emphasis on this measurement of cycles of 144 days, instead of just observing these abstract concepts. Let's put hands-on practice, because as we can see on the next slide, or on the next slide, I misplaced it, probably is where we can see that that next day out of time would be 102 cycles of 260 days. But on the next, if we can skip that one, if you want, let's go and skip that one, because I don't want to lose track of the 144, because we're getting close to something big. So for everyone watching, it's actually 10:44 here, and this is where we wanted to go, because it is part of, this is an extension of the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl. This is a time map left by Jose Argüelles Balumbotan of a revelation that he had on October 22nd to 2010, Kin 197, Red Lunar Earth, in which he was able to establish that we were precisely 7 cycles of 144 days from galactic synchronization, and 7 cycles of 113 days to December 21st, 2012. So if you want to elaborate a little bit more about this graphic, because we have been talking about this doing a few episodes, but we this is the first time, I think, that we show the actual time map.
Right. Yeah, this is a very, very special thing to make conscious, I would say, at this point in the 52 heptad process of arriving to the golden intersection, particularly because in a few short days from now, we'll arrive to Kin 60. Kin 60 happens to complete the 30th 144-day cycle since galactic synchronization. So completing a total of 37 cycles in totality since the count began October 22nd, 2010. But it's very, very significant, because literally it is the equivalent to 8 Ahau, this being Kin 60, that wraps the 30th of these 144-day cycles like we're talking about. So that's very significant, because the following day, Kin 61, Solar Dragon, begins the activation of the 31st 144-day cycle that literally comes to completion on the golden intersection of timelines, 144 days later, basically, on October 14th. So, making this conscious is critical, because these are the subtle, I would say, coordinates in a way. These are the subtle coordinates that are in a way expressing, but also infusing our DNA with this light information. Because of the frequency match, we're talking about the speed of light, as we were explaining in the previous Jane 108 slide that gets into the incremental measurement of that in a very particular way, but knowing that the structure of our DNA is designed kind of like fiber optics to channel this light information, these light codes. So when we really appreciate what's being condensed into us as vessels hosting light frequencies, light body, light consciousness, it's a similar thing to what I learned many years ago. Is you have a certain set of degrees of physical knowledge, and then you have a match of that in terms of light knowledge. Most of us are consumed of physical knowledge. What we are less inclined to pay attention to, though, is we're also literally being used to stabilize light knowledge. Part of this process, though, as we said earlier, is really deliberately being receptive, because it's like this. If we're not receptive, if we're, for example, not in a place or space or disposition to receive, it's going to be in many ways missed on us. Though if we're open to receiving, that we can actually ground this higher charged plasmic input coming into the planet, then we're able to help ground this light knowledge information. And as a result, it activates our DNA, almost as if from the inside out.
Yeah.
Part of the warning, though, at this point in time is you want to be deliberate about being highly hydrated, as Rubén said earlier, because you don't want to get burnt out. And you also want to make sure you're detoxifying. And part of detoxification, more important even than physical detoxification, is your emotional psychological detox, because thoughts are things, and when these high charged energies come in, if we contain a bunch of sludge or emotional unprocessed toxicity, an equivalent of a grease fire can occur, because this energy is extremely highly charged, and it's going to move through anything that doesn't belong there. That's also part of the process of liberation. In the spectral tone and the spectral moon of liberation. In fact, part of the process is a cleaning of us so that we can be even more receptive and able to ground this charge. It's a part of, I feel, the process of being in the solar max. This only really happens every 22 years. This window that we're actually navigating currently of the solar maximum frequency. So we're in a very unique space. This is also happening in a generational phase, because 22 is there about near 20 years or so. Every generation is having this accelerated process. And I feel that this is where we find ourselves at our sort of spiral arm of the galaxy, going through this particular phase shift that we are. So in a sense, what we're seeing on the screen is that window where, obviously, in the inference of this timing, you're going from October 22nd to where you see the declining line going down, that was going to complete at December 21st, 2012. And that would be considered the destabilization of the material world. That's basically what's being tracked by that trending line down of 113-day cycles. Okay? Which also significantly holds the frequency of your kin, 113. Very interesting. When we look at the other cycle, though, the inclining cycle that goes from October 22nd through galactic synchronization, kin 164, July 26, 2013, those are the first 7 144-day cycles, the return of sacred power. So what that was indicating, according to this terma, or this secret hidden message that Arguelles decoded in October of 2010, is that line, that inclining line, would be the returning, the re-infusing of sacred power into our physiology, into our planetary system. And that it would really hit a certain pitch at galactic synchronization, where we see this diagram sort of cuts off there. Now, what naturally extends, though, into galactic synchronization is that cycle keeps on going, 144-day cycles. So in our work of Harmonic Convergence 2020 to 2028, and the harmonic factor, and the discovery and observance of the Git is by naturally tracking that 144-day cycle continuing, further steps of the evolutionary process become very, very clear.
Yeah. And having said that, that's what we did on the next slide, because on the next slide we started on galactic synchronization, which is the exact midpoint of that 52-year cycle that goes from 1987 to 2039. And what we can see, we named these the 22 cycles of the return of sacred power that started in 2013 and they close in 2022. And this is a fractal of the 22 cycles of the prophecy of Quetzalcoatl. So what we see in blue are the 13 heavens, and what we see in red is the 9 underworlds. And we can see that if we create an equivalence of each of the cycles of 52 years, equivalent to 144 days, which is the fractal scale that we use here, we can see that the cycle that started on Kin 164 Yellow Galactic Seed on July 26, 2013, ended on March 28, I think it was the date, it says here, March 28, 2022, which was Kin 209, the red magnetic moon. And this is a very interesting thing, because if we add those two signatures, the start of those 22 cycles of 144 days to the end, we get the energy of 9 Skywalker, which is the really is not me. It is really the unification of Quetzalcoatl as Kin 53 and Tacalbotan as Kin 60. It's a prophetic cycle that is kind of embedded with those two energies. 53 plus 60 is 113. Wow. And when we add those frequencies as 164 and 209 is what we get. And that day we had a major planetary alignment and 7 solar flares, I remember. So we covered this on a blogging medium, and it's extensive, because that was kind of those 7 flares were the signal from this solar consciousness that the energy or the light of that frequency of 144 was moving forward in perfect synchronization with the cycles of the sun, the cycles of the earth, and cycles of the new time. I think, so the other beauty about that is that on the long count, it was the day 8 Kan, which is the equivalent of Kin 164. So basically, the cycle of 22 cycles of 144 days started on Kin 164 on the Galactic Maya count, and the other bookend is 8 Kan, or the equivalent of Kin 164 on the ancient Maya count. It's perfect.
We see another similar weaving, though, and we talked about this maybe last episode, where we look in the future when the traditional Tzolk'in and the galactic Tzolk'in synchronize. We know the beginning of their synchronization is March 1st, 2208. Yeah. The end of their synchronization actually steps into the next phase on the Kin 113 equivalent, again, showing up as a major interval of synchronization, and that's across the long count observation, if I'm not mistaken. It's almost as if the 113 picks up in that future point of synchronization between these two counts as well.
Yes.
So it's very,
and that's why
the weaving is remarkable.
Term that we showcase on the prior slide it was called the term of the Lord of the Dawn, because
Right.
what opened up the 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 cycles of 144, it was the fact that it was kin 197 and there were 791 days to December 21st, 2012. That happens to be 7 cycles of 113 days.
Exactly.
And in the Quran, Surah 113 is the Lord of the Dawn. The book that Jose received from Tony Shear is Lord of the Dawn, narrates the story of Quetzalcoatl. We saw, which, by the way, the credit for that image is from Galactic Research Institute of the Foundation for the Law of Time. There is, you can look for that document and really expand your knowledge base, because it's one of the last transmissions that he left before leaving the next year in 2011. It's really a gift to read. It was for sure key for us to really absorb, so that the only thing that we did was extending what he left. And by extending that, like you mentioned, that the graphic only goes until Galactic Sync, when we extend those cycles of 144 days, we find this new layer of harmony and beauty and synchronicity and prophecy that was hidden, and that we are now about to reveal the next stage in 4 days on Kin 60, when we arrive to 30 cycles of 144 days, which is the equivalent of 4,320 days, fractal of the 432 frequency, the frequency that musical instruments are now tuned in, because it's the triad of 144. So we are, that's also next Kin 60, the 22nd day of this 11th moon, is World Turtle Day.
Come on.
Yeah, it's just the cherry on top of the multidimensional cake of things.
I did put links in the live chat for folks to check out to that galactic spiral density wave in 2012 article about the terma discovered by Jose Arguelles, October 22nd, 2010. Very, very profound there. And, again, you can consider how we've extended and kept up with that count, and that's led to the recognition that we're having in a few days, as you just mentioned, with the completion of 30 of those 144-day cycles. So extending from that graphic, where we see it extended to 22 of those cycles, but we've gone on, even now at this point, we'll have completed 8 more of those cycles by this Kin 60, which is incredible, actually. And then to know, furthermore, it really culminates in the golden intersection of timelines, which is a very important marker for us as far as I'm concerned, because as of Kin 61, we know it's literally 144 days until the get.
Yeah.
So things are really, for us, I know, going to pick up into a whole new frequency relative to preparedness and receptivity, preparation, really broadly. And we want to really, again, encourage people to start to imagine where you want to be physically. Where do you want to tune in to the noosphere, tune into the Earth's crystal octahedron core, with a recognition of the sciences that we've been kind of illuminating or elucidating through the harmonic factor. But along with that, really see yourself as one who's able to receive and transduce this high frequency information. Be a receptor, be a grounding rod for these pulses, this pulsar plasmic coordinating information coming in. It's there for us. So there's a lot of campaigns out here to make people afraid of the sun and suggest that you should avoid the sun and things like that. Don't feed into that stuff. Don't do it. Like, we are effectively, before you have a spacesuit, you are a light being. So this is time to raise our vibrations, really be receptive, be attuned, be available to these frequencies. And that's really just what's happening right now.
Yes, yes, and also if we can go back to the last slide, because this is probably as a frequency something important, that phase shift that took place on galactic synchronization was the end of a 104,000 tune pulsation beam. So it's like, imagine that the galaxy has like a pulse, and that pulse is a wave of 104,000 tune. So we phase out of one of those and we enter a new one.
Exactly.
And that frequency again, 104, is the frequency of this cosmic moon. The entire 13 moon of this year is coded by Kin 104, and it's also the unified cosmic time, the UCT, for the golden intersection, which is adding both signatures. In the long count, the indigenous Maya and the galactic Maya, we get that frequency. And if we go back to, for those people who didn't catch up with the last episode, we mentioned that the last tune cycle of 360 days to the golden intersection started on Kin 104. So we have that cycle goes from Kin 104 to Kin 204, the solar seed, and those are the numbers of the prophecy, also 13 and 9, tone 13, and tone 9. And that's how this entire symphony of prophecy is unfolding, guided by those frequencies. And we are so privileged and honored to be able to put it in a way that more people can grasp. If you want to expand of this, we did a really comprehensive post on this when we reach 26,000 days of the new time and the harmonic convergence. It's called A Living Prophecy Coming Full Spiral. It was presented during this way spell also. And we invite anyone who wants to learn more to go and visit our blog on medium.com. Look for us as the Harmonic Factor, and this is one of the most comprehensive articles we have written, and has a lot of details about everything that we explain here, and a little bit more about the history of Pakal. It has excerpts from Jose Arguelles, Balloon Botan, and the original transmissions, and of course verses of the Telectonon. It is something to worth looking at.
I put a link to it for folks in the live chat as well for easy access. Go ahead and check that link out to the Medium article, A Living Prophecy Coming Full Spiral. You'll find that right there. Thank you so much. And we'll be sure to put that in the show notes as well for people tuning into this at a later point in time. But certainly, if we want to get anything across in the message tonight, it's to really recognize that we are equipped with the technology to receive and transmit this incoming light knowledge, these incoming codes. And the real key is to be receptive, is to be connected to earth, get into nature, get your shoes off, ground into earth, because that's how you're going to be able to be the conduit for this high frequency information coming in. Don't have to worry about comprehending it. It's not a matter of our intellect at all. At this point, this is on a completely other level. So what's happening is well beyond our intellectual comprehension of the process. So we don't want to get distracted by it not making sense, or it seeming like it's this or it's like that. Whatever you want to do right now, just be receptive. Be discerning, clearly. Be discerning. Be resonant. Be discerning, and most importantly, be receptive, because what is coming through is meant for you to receive.
Yeah.
And that's just the beauty of this entire experience.
And it doesn't matter if you still feel a little dizzy by the numbers, or if this is still hard for some people to grasp. It's happening. Just anything you need to know is that there is a higher frequency driving this entire process, and you just surrender to it. We are inviting people to that's one of the main qualities of the golden intersection, is an invitation to surrender to a higher order, surrender to the code of life, surrender to that code of light that is also the number 144, and allow the miracles to happen. That's kind of the invitation.
Beautifully put. With that, y'all, we're going to go ahead and check into what's next. But thank you for being with us for the journey this far. It's been really a remarkable episode 31. Thank you, Brother Rubén, for everything this transmission has brought forward. It's definitely happening.
It's happening.
So as we know, what's next, as you hear us speaking about every episode, is the golden intersection of timelines. It's really an invitation for you to get into nature, get into the heart, connect in sacred spaces. Could be in your backyard, could be in your local park of your community, anywhere sacred to you. We really want to encourage people to get out into nature, get in touch, get in tune with nature for this important threshold moment. It's going to be a very beautiful, highly profound, might even be very deeply subtle, but truly know that the transformation is happening to us and through us. And so we're all invited, called to really be grounding rods for this amazing charge, solar plasmic energy that is really streaming through right now at this phase of the shift.
Yeah, and also create art. It's like the universe giving us a high five, just to us to come together with the harmony and express that in whatever way we feel called or inspired to do. And these are the materials that we are sharing on our social media. We try to honor all the three different accounts that are converging: the Galactic Maya, the Ancient Maya, and the Gregorian calendar. We see this convergence as past, present, and future, and we want to keep that going. So if you have people that you want to invite that are not familiar with the Mayan systems or the timekeeping systems, well, October 14, 15, come celebrate. There is something major happening. The universe is speaking to us in number, and let's see what open up. If we open up to these frequencies and to these harmonics, there's something miraculous in store for each one of us.
It's really true. Exactly. Showing up, paying attention, recognizing the perfection of the count of days, as we've heard in the prophecy. It applies regardless of whether you're aware of the prophecy or not. The count of days is still perfect. And part of that is also recognizing, when we initiated this offering, this ceremony, it is to shift us from harm to harmony. There's no coincidence to the fact that this was initiated 1 year into the Israel-Hamas conflict that we know is still spinning out of control right now. And so as many more people around the world are stepping into their own courage of convictions and conscience to call what is happening exactly what it is. That's a part of this process. We have to step into that truth through a universal heart, through a universal lens, universal peace and reconciliation. Part of that is telling the truth. Part of that is asking the hard questions. That's why the warrior quality is so imbued. Today of all days is a day for questioning with fearlessness and intelligence, right? That's a day like today. Similarly, 53 Tzolk'ins ago on the Harmonic Convergence was a similar need. So I just want to put that out there, that we're shifting towards harmony, away from harm. So that also includes standing in that gap for people that might otherwise not be able to speak for themselves right now. We have to really be a concerted voice for a unified humanity at this time more than ever. And so let's not be shy about that either. Step into this with courage, step into this with confidence, because it's true. Everything is really in our favor if we're receptive to it. So let's just continue to be receptive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With that in mind, we also want to continue to encourage people to share this open petition. Part of this sense-making experience is to recognize that part of the shift is a shift away from the artificial construct of the Gregorian calendar towards a more harmonious civil standard, if you will, of a 13-month, 28-day calendar. And so one of our aims and goals is that by October 14th, 2025, we have 144,000 signatures on this petition. So we're really counting on you out there who are resonant with this message to help us send this petition out so we can activate a critical mass of people who, in good conscience and heart and mind, are aligning with this awareness of the need to return to earth, right? Return to balance, return to the heart, get into nature, get into the heart with this golden intersection of timelines, but also help us get these signatures so we can
and spread the word about the because this is a perfect opportunity to have a conversation about the calendar, have that aspect of our consciousness that is time, which is half of the hologram, time and space, that we don't speak very often. People are speaking about time is accelerating, and artificial intelligence is also making everything so fast. Today, big shifts are coming and are manifesting. Every week seems like a year. But we don't have the conversation about why that acceleration is connected to the calendar and the clock we use. So it's an opportunity to really connect the two, and harmonize the two, because what we are really looking forward to do, and we will in the next episode probably extend the invitation for a 7-day event that we want to hold to really process the trauma of the Gregorian calendar in a harmonious way. We really want to go through a process on Indigenous Peoples Day, that days before, of forgiveness, on October 13th, connecting to the future, to the end of the Pictoon, and honor the coming generations. And on the golden intersection, have this celebration in the present moment. So we go to the past, then we go to the future, and then we go to the present to conquer the frequency.
That's right. So as we can see, we're at this moment, at least in Los Angeles, and for those of us still on this particular side of the time zone, we're 148 days away from the golden intersection of timelines. As we mentioned, as of Kin 61, this heptad, or rather even this wave spell, we will be just 144 days away from the golden intersection. So making this conscious right now, that's part of the whole process of what we're doing here. But certainly thank you for everybody out there tuning in and staying tuned for the duration. It's been a good long episode this evening. As as usual, but we really give thanks for being able to be here together with you and just have everyone tapping in with our intention as we hold this space together. So we genuinely give thanks to everybody out there tuning in.
And extend, this has been like a really a beautiful opportunity to extend that energy of the harmonic convergence and to, as we mentioned yesterday on our post, to experience a reverberation of the original vibration of the harmonic convergence. How people really hear the call 53 Tzolk'ins ago. We hope that people will hear the call again, and we can be many human beings synchronized, harmonized, celebrating life, celebrating love and unity.
Aho.
Aho.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We give thanks to our team, Michelle, Alejandra. Big up respect. Thank you for all you do. Everybody tuning in, all our kin around the world who tune in here with us every episode. We really appreciate your presence on the planet. Certainly stay tuned. Again, drop by our website, theharmonicfactor.com. Learn more about the golden intersection there. Download a copy of the white paper. Spread that around to more people that would love to have a comprehension on what makes this moment so significant. And continue to stay tuned. We certainly invite you to decode yourself. Visit lawoftime.org to learn your galactic signature. Visit starroot.com to be able to compare your galactic signature with your traditional daykeeper. Get all that comprehensive information in one shot right there. Also visit our friends at 13moon.com. They have a fantastic wall calendar, the galactic calendar. We want to promote all our allies out here in the field shifting this paradigm, and we're all doing it together. Big up to Jason Garrett Gibson out there holding up his end of the deal relative to shifting people in a very fundamental way, systemically in this so-called United States, because we obviously got to chip away at that right here at the foundations of the modern Babylon, which is why we're giving so much energy to it here. But we certainly give thanks for everybody showing up in their capacity, in their purpose, so inscribed, perfect count of days. There are no mistakes. Everything is in divine, perfect, beautiful order. Yeah. With that said, we'll see y'all next episode, episode 34. We love you, and we give thanks for your presence. And Lakesh.
Lakesh.
Tune in with the Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view. Galactic Spin Podcast and expand your view.